Good afternoon, my name is Ola Atamanova, and I want to thank everybody who joins us in Ukrainian Media Center, Ukrinform. It's been 10 years of the war, and today is day 530 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by Russian aggressor. And now we will be talking about the harvesting campaign and about the sales of Ukrainian grain. Joining us online is Dmytro Solomchuk, People's Deputy, a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Agrarian and Land Policy. Good afternoon, Mr. Dmytro. Good afternoon, Mr. Dmytro. So let's talk about the harvesting campaign. What are the conclusions, the interim conclusions? How much harvest are we about to have this year? Well, we expect to get about 70 million tons. Well, for example, there are delays with harvesting in the west of Ukraine due to weather conditions. In the south and in the east, the harvesting campaign is almost over, and we expect to start harvesting the sunflower. So we are currently near Izum. We visit the farmers who were affected by the war. They haven't sown any winter crops. They've sown only sunflower, but nobody wants to come there to harvest due to the security situation. Generally, we've harvested 18 million of sunflower. It's 16 to 17% of the harvest which is about to be harvested this year. In the deoccupied territories in Kherson, Mykolaiv and Kharkiv regions, along with Sumy region, the harvesting campaign is going on in the most difficult way. The people go out in the field risking their lives. Sometimes they put on personal body armor or they reinforce their vehicles with some metal sheets, but every day they go out there in the field risking their lives, and all the Ukrainians should appreciate it, should value their lives. Mr. Dmytro, what is the dynamics comparing to the last year? Have we harvested more than the last year? Well, counting the dynamics, this year the harvesting campaign is going on faster than the last year, because last year western and central Ukraine, they were harvesting wheat and the rains were washing out everything. This summer is warmer, the temperature is higher, and the harvesting campaign is going on faster. Talking about the prices for the food products, what should we expect? Should we expect any growth of prices due to complication of exports? For Ukraine, the food prices will be stable. Taking the vegetables, for example, prices for some vegetables fell 60 to 70%. Talking about the dairy products or bakery, the level of prices will remain the same until winter, and then we'll see what's gonna happen to the harvesting systems, because the cost of bread is made up of the human labor cost and the prices of energy carriers. But there are some problems with logistics. Sometimes logistics becomes incredibly expensive, and this is the question everybody is asking right after the demining. This is something of everybody's concern. Well, I cannot help but asking you about the problems related to the exports which are faced by our agrarians. What are the news in this area? We see that now all Ukrainian government agencies work on all levels to arrange this process. Are there any news there? Right, Agrarian Committee, the Parliament and the Office of the President all together work on arranging the experts, but unfortunately the circumstances, we're having the war, they significantly alter the logistics. Russians inflicted significant strikes on our port infrastructures, which needs to be renewed. It takes time, it takes funds. Everybody is in negotiations with the European countries and their levels to open the free transit. Unfortunately, we don't have some significant achievements in this area. Our main task today is to harvest all the crops and take in Kharkiv, Sumy, Kherson regions. The harvest is right under the open sky because all the storage facilities are destroyed, so we try to provide them with the sleeves so they can store their harvest. And I think somewhere in November the countries of Europe will start asking us to export our wheat and corn, because France, Spain, Portugal are the countries that don't have the forecasted amount of harvest due to very hot weather. Many fields have dried and they harvested way less than they expected. They have their animal husbandry systems developed and they will need fodder for them, and the cheapest logistics and the products that they need is available from Ukraine. Mr. Dmytro, we see lately that the tactics of the occupier has become such that they try to target our grain. Do we understand what are the losses suffered by our agrarians due to the enemy's strikes on our grain silos? Well, I think there is no single person in Ukraine or in the world who can calculate the exact losses of the agrarians, but those are horrifying figures. We were visiting Kherson region and the irrigation system that used to be the biggest one in Ukraine and covered 450,000 hectares. The losses of the irrigation system are in dozens millions of dollars. In Kharkiv region, the agrarians suffered significant losses as well. A village was under occupation and the enemy was killing the pigs. The village used to have 70,000 pigs, but the occupiers killed almost all of them. I think that in Kharkiv region, the losses of agrarians will be calculated in tens of billions of dollars. Well, you can calculate the amount of under-received profit from 575,000 hectares. So the average will be given the average price of $300 per ton, it's tens of billions of dollars. So people try to demand the fields themselves. They attach the rollers to the tractors. They drive them remotely. Our agrarians are unique people. You know, they invent things on the go. They were left alone in their villages and they start building navigation systems in their tractors. So again, they're unique engineers. Mr. Dmytro, getting back to the topic of prices in the global markets, we've seen the market react to the strikes on Ismail. The prices started growing. So has it stabilized now, or we expect any more growth of price of food in global markets? No, the price has not yet stabilized. The wheat will become even more expensive the price will be growing until the mid-October, maybe 20, maybe 30% according to my forecast. Thank you, dear colleagues. Do we have questions on the floor? Vladislav Obuch, Ukrinform. Last year, the practice of temporary storage of harvest in the sleeves proved to be efficient last year. Was the equipment already inventoried that was supplied by the partners to Ukraine? Is anything going on with the replenishment of the storages? Are those sleeves still supplied to us? And what's going on with the processing of agricultural products? Last year and this year we're talking more and more about this, so we're not only talking about additional bigger added value, but also increase of the products that can be exported thanks to the fact that they were processed in Ukraine. As to the inventory of equipment, it's mostly the realm of the Ministry of Agrarian Policy. As to the sleeves, they were provided by both ministry and private donors, but the sleeves are only one-off use. The agrarians have used all of them, and then they can continue using them as the film to cover something in the damaged facilities, or sometimes they store it right on the ground. This year the sleeves were not included in any programs by the ministries, only the International Winning Victory Harvest is the charity fund that continues supplying the sleeves to the agrarians. This is the only fund working with the affected agrarians. And as to the processing, the central and western Ukraine increased the number of facilities for pasta products. You know that there is another big factory being built by our Ukrainian, or several factories built by Ukrainian enterprises, but we need more profound processing. Like everybody says, like, let's export flour, but there are no such extensive number of customers. If you enter a shop in Europe, you may see what is the range of products in demand abroad. And now the Ukrainian products are being already supplied to the European markets. I mean dairy products and other types of products. I mean ready-made food. Yes, the processing facilities are imagined, but it's clear that during the war people don't invest as much because some may risk all of their funds. It's up to the private businesses. You know, the government cannot regulate anything here. We can just support them in a number of things, in solving bureaucratic problems. We help them to expedite all the processes. Mr. Dmytro, and the last question is about the export to the European Union countries. We've seen that on the 15th of September, the export ban should be lifted, but we know that those countries want to extend this period until the end of the year. So what does Ukraine do in order not to make it happen? Yes, we are in negotiations with the committee of the Polish Sejm. The office of the president is in negotiations on the level of presidents, and cabinet of ministers is in negotiations on their level. But some of our friends, some of our neighbors, whose support we appreciate a lot, the support that they were extending to us since the 24th of February, but some of the politicians there, they use our farmers as the political leverage before the elections. So after the end of elections campaign, I think the lanes should be open, because otherwise the price of products in their shops will grow 30 to 40% because they don't have sufficient harvest and fodder for their animal husbandry. All the meat products will grow in price, everything that they like to eat. Thank you very much for joining our broadcast. I'm reminding you, dear colleagues, joining us was Dmytro Solomchuk, People's Deputy and the member of Parliamentary Committee on Agrarian and Land Policy. Our next briefing is at 2 o'clock. We'll talk about the situation in the Black Sea, and we'll talk about the attacks on the Russian vessels. Joining us will be Dmytro Pletenchuk, spokesman for the Ukrainian Navy. So stay tuned. Let's work together for our victory. Glory to Ukraine.